Yeah,
Okay, I think
it
we're
is.
live now. Hi,
Yes.
everybody. Good evening. Hi, Ashlesha.
Hi, Nupur. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Sorry for the delay. We got a few messages from some of y'all, and we were facing a little technical difficulty, which is why we were not able to be live on time. But as we speak, I'm just sharing, this post across our groups, and we hope that you will join us on this new link where you can see us and hear us. And please tell us in the comment box uh, if you can see us and hear us. And Ashlesha, tell us how your day is going. And
Well, I've had a good weekend actually, and
yeah,
I'm hoping to end it on a good note.
that's awesome. Did you go somewhere? Were you traveling or?
No, I like had my cheat day today,
Oh,
so had a
nice.
lot of good food.
Amazing. That
So
sounds
yeah,
pretty awesome. All right. Just waiting to see. Okay, perfect. We can see and hear you all. Yeah, that's great.
yes,
Um, so that means this time we are visible to all of you. So today we're going to be talking about ketones and diabetes. I'm going to jump straight in so that we don't waste any more time. And we want you all to discuss with us what are your
yes,
thoughts about ketones, what are your questions, and Ashlesha and me are both going to try and we're both going to try and answer to the best of our capacity. I
hmm.
see somebody saying I can't see or hear anything. Well, could you please, go back and try joining again? Because I see another comment, and apparently we are visible and audible both. And I can also see, as we are speaking, I can also see the live on Facebook. So I think it's working. Okay, perfect. You can see now. That's great. So everyone in the comments, you know the drill. Ask us your questions, share your thoughts, tell us who you are, chat with each other, chat with us. And for those who are joining us for the first time, Blue Circle workshops are weekend workshops every Sunday at 5 p.m. India time. We run these workshops, and what we really aim to do with these workshops is create a platform for the people with diabetes and by the people with diabetes. So we've been doing these workshops for I think over 3 years now.
Hmm.
And Hi, good evening. And so that means we've done more than 200 workshops, and consecutively every Sunday without fail, you'll see some, familiar face or a new face. And what's special about these workshops is that these workshops are actually conducted by people that actually live with diabetes. So our community, Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation, is an open community. So whether you live with type 1 like Ashlesha and I do, or you live with any other type 2, type 3C, gestational, LADA, MODI, any other type, you are very welcome to our community. It's not just for one type of diabetes. So through these workshops we talk about various topics, and आज का topic है ketones और diabetes. And we will be conducting this workshop. हम English में भी बात करेंगे, हम हिंदी में भी बात करेंगे.
Hmm.
So यही कोशिश रहेगी हमारी कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग समझ पाएँ और पार्टिसिपेट कर पाएँ. Any questions, any thoughts, please leave them for us in the comment box, and we will try our best to get back to you. So
Yeah,
ketones, जो word है, I think it's a pretty scary word. People feel like, oh my God, ketones,
yeah,
some emergency has happened. And I want to ask before we begin, before we officially begin, I want to ask Ashlesha, like over the years that you've had diabetes, and I think you've been T1 for about 16 years or so.
yes, yeah.
Yes. So, what is the first thought that used to come in your mind earlier versus now when you heard the word ketones?
Okay, so when I was diagnosed 16 years before, of course I was in a DKA, and in the initial years जो starting का time था उसमें because you know सबने बताया था, doctors ने, nurses ने, जो भी मुझे knowledge मिला था, it was like अगर ketones है you have to be very careful. So मैं थोड़ा डर गई थी, तो every time if any of my readings used to show you know कि ketones present है, ketones positive है, ketones high जा रहे हैं, डर लगता था. And over the years abhi you know since I've researched, I've heard about it from other guys, from you, it's becoming clear ki एकदम से you don't have to be fearful and jump to you know wrong conclusions कि ketones है मतलब I'm gonna land in a DKA and मुझे hospital जाना है. नहीं है. स्टेप्स होते हैं, एंड इफ यू यू नो फाइंड आउट कि आपके ट्रिगर्स क्या है, आप आपको कैसे यू नो यू शुड केयर फॉर योरसेल्फ, व्हाट यू कैन डू टू रिड्यूस द कीटोन्स एट होम, तो इट इज मैनेजेबल. like you'll make sure कि you won't land in a DKA. तो वो पूरा stage है, and I'm very happy कि finally like we'll be able to you know clear it out for everyone out there who don't know about it, or you know were misinformed about what exactly ketones are या फिर कैसे बढ़ते हैं, कैसे होते हैं. तो yeah, let's go ahead.
Absolutely. And I do want to, take a second to also quickly acknowledge and thank Ashlesha for reminding us of this topic, because I remember a couple of months ago, Ashlesha saying that, we need to have this workshop on ketones.
Yeah.
And then we were like, yes, of course. I think this is a very important topic. So when I heard the word ketones, just like Ashlesha, पहले मुझे भी बहुत डर लगता था कि और हम लोगों को सिखाया जाता है कि कीटोन से
Mm.
डरो.
Yeah.
फैक्ट ये है कि किसी भी चीज से डरने से कुछ नहीं होने वाला. यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इट इज एंड व्हाट इट डज टू यू. एंड सो टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू अनपैक कि कीटोन से कब डरना है. कीटोन्स आर अ नेचुरल बाय प्रोडक्ट ऑफ द बॉडी. हर किसी के बॉडी में कीटोन्स बनते हैं, चाहे वो डायबिटिक हो या ना हो. तो ऑडियंस, आप लोग भी कमेंट्स में प्लीज शेयर करें कि आपने क्या सुना है कीटोन्स के बारे में. कोई ऐसे कोई मिथ्स है, अगर इफ यू हर्ड ऑफ समथिंग दैट यू नो इज रॉन्ग, but maybe you believed it earlier or you didn't know. Let us know in the comments what you feel. And even for people with types of diabetes where maybe ketones are not a concern as much, maybe type 2, um,
Mm.
for example, what do you guys know about ketones, or what would you like to learn or discuss more about ketones? Let us know that. And I think we can start with our first sort of question.
Mm.
So, Ashley, you want to begin?
Yeah. So what are ketones exactly? सो बेसिकली कीटोन्स इज अ टाइप ऑफ अ केमिकल, ठीक है. आप केमिकल बोल सकते हो, एसिड बोल सकते हो, दैट आर लिवर प्रोड्यूसेस. और ये कब होता है, जब अपने लिवर में या फिर यू नो बॉडी में इंसुलिन नहीं है, तो हम लोग जब खाना खाते हैं तो वो जो सारा ग्लूकोज जो बॉडी में बनता है, या फिर यू नो कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स और बाकी सारी चीजों से, इंसुलिन से हम लोग उसको एनर्जी में कन्वर्ट करते हैं या फिर ग्लूकोज में कन्वर्ट करते हैं. अब हमारी बॉडी में अगर इंसुलिन नहीं हो कोई सिचुएशन में यू नो, तब हमारी बॉडी क्या करती है, एनर्जी तो चाहिए राइट, ग्लूकोज तो चाहिए फंक्शनिंग के लिए, ब्रेन के लिए, बाकी ऑर्गन्स के लिए, अपने सेल्स के लिए. तो जब ये लिवर को नहीं मिलता है, तब लिवर क्या करता है, जो फैटी फैट्स जो जमा हुए होते हैं, ठीक है, बैंक होता है बेसिकली राइट, बैकअप रखती है अपनी बॉडी हर चीज का. तो जब बाहर से प्रॉपरली ग्लूकोज ना मिले, इंसुलिन कम होता है या फिर इंसुलिन नहीं मिल पाता है या फिर नहीं मिलता है, तब हमारा लिवर रॉन्ग सिग्नल्स भेजता है बॉडी को, और वो क्या करता है, ग्लूकोज चाहिए राइट, तो उसके लिए जो फैट्स स्टोर्ड होते हैं, ठीक है, उसे वो कन्वर्ट करता है इनटू ग्लूकोज, विच इज वेरी हार्मफुल. ये बहुत डेंजरस होता है, एंड ये बार बार नहीं होना चाहिए.
एब्सोल्युटली. एंड आई थिंक एक नेचुरल जो क्वेश्चन
हम्म.
है जो इसके बाद आता है कि हाउ आर कीटोन्स फॉर्म्ड. आई एम ऑल्सो
हम्म.
looking at the chat box, and Urvashi has a question: how effective are urine testing ketone strips? So I'll come to that in a second. But जैसे अश्लेषा ने बताया कि when your blood sugar goes up और जब भी आपके बॉडी में इंसुलिन की डेफिशिएंसी है, that is one of the reasons that
रीजन.
causes ketones, and the blood becomes basically acidic. That is something that obviously we need to avoid. um, how does alcohol affect ketone production? I think great questions coming in, really interesting. All right, so I think let's. I'm actually very interested to talk about Urvashi's question first. How effective are there are two ways to test ketones. One is the urine testing ketone strips. Now these urine testing ketone strips were the only option for many years. काफी सालों तक blood testing ketone strips नहीं होते थे. तो ये एक ही ऑप्शन था पहले. अभी हमारे पास दो ऑप्शंस है विच इज वन इज यूरिन टेस्ट वेयर यू बेसिकली पी ऑन अ स्टिक. यू गेट अ बॉटल ऑफ
Excuse me.
कीटोन स्ट्रिप्स. आप उस पे यूरिनेट करते हैं और 30-40 सेकेंड्स बाद उसका कलर चेंज होता है एंड देन यू मैच इट ऑन दैट आप डब्बे पे जो कलर स्कीम है उस पे देखते
शेड्स
हैं,
देता है. हाँ.
शेड्स देखते हैं, देन आपको पता चलता है कि आपके कीटोन्स हाई है या मीडियम है या क्या है. ऑन अ ब्लड कीटोन मीटर विच इज मोर एक्यूरेट, you get to see the precise value. So you can see whether your ketones are 0.6 or you can see whether it's 0.8 or 1. And we'll put into the chat box as well the reference ranges. So I would say for the reason of cost, uh, people might want to use urine ketone strips, which is absolutely okay. Anytime your blood sugar goes over 250 is when you need to check ketones. जब आपका शुगर 250 के ऊपर जाता है तब ketones चेक कर लेने चाहिए. And well, I think I've always used urine ketone testing strips. Apart from one time, I was just telling Ashlesha before the workshop कि
Yeah.
एक टाइम मैंने किसी से बोरो करके ब्लड कीटोन मीटर पे भी चेक किया था. So that was an interesting experience. What about you, Ashlesha? How do you check?
Yeah, I have also like I also have the urine test strips घर पे, so I mostly use that only, and like I've never used the blood strips to check my ketones. जितने भी बार blood में से मेरा check हुआ है was when I was hospitalized.
Got it. For folks in the audience, please let us know in the chat अगर आप ketones check करते हैं, कब करते हैं, what prompts you to check your ketones, and do you use urine ketone testing strips or do you use blood ketone testing strips? So let us know in the comments, and I think we can move on with the next questions.
Yes. So I think we were discussing the second question, right? How are ketones produced in your body or our body?
Correct. So I think Ashlesha, like you mentioned, when the sugars are high and when the insulin is not available, the body starts using fat for energy, right? And that's basically how ketones develop. Um, sorry, I yeah. So that's that. I think happy to move on to the next question.
Yes. The next question is, what are the symptoms of high ketones? या फिर ketones in general? Like, when should you be worried कि, ये symptoms दिख रहे हैं कि या फिर मुझे अब check करना है या नहीं? ये कैसे समझ में आएगा?
एंड अभी मुझे गिलमेरियो का कमेंट दिख रहा है दैट ही यूजेस यूरिन कीटोन टेस्टिंग स्ट्रिप्स एंड when he's above 250 for a certain period of time. I think that's the ideal way to do it when your sugars are high. जब sugars 250 के ऊपर जाती हैं तब ketones check कर लेने चाहिए. And whether you choose to check via urine ketone strips or via blood ketone strips, that is up to you. So I think for me, Ashlesha, like symptoms that I would watch out for would be dehydration, because जब मेरी शुगर हाई जाती है, आई फील मुझे प्यास लगती है, एंड आई फील लाइक dehydrated. I feel sometimes a little bit of a stomach ache, or I feel uncomfortable, I feel sick, I feel irritable. So I think these are my symptoms that I would watch out for. What about you?
Yeah, so as far as I've observed, मेरी case में if I have like stomach ache and I get like severe stomach aches and nausea, ये मेरे बहुत दो major symptoms signs रहे हैं for me to understand कि my sugars are not coming down. कीटोन्स कुड बी द रीजन, यू नो। तो मेरे लिए ये दो पॉइंट्स हमेशा लाइक हाईलाइटेड रहे। अगर ये दो चीजें दिख रही है मुझे, यू नो, आई एम फीलिंग इट, आई एम गोइंग थ्रू इट, तो आई डेफिनेटली चेक माई शुगर्स, आई कीप अ वॉच ऑन इट। माई इंसुलिन्स मैं कितना ले रही हूँ, मुझे यू नो डोज बढ़ाने की जरूरत है या नहीं, ये सारी चीजें। सो फॉर मी ये दो सिम्टम्स मेजर है मेरे लिए।
Correct. Yes, I think nausea is also a very
या
important thing, common thing to watch out for. Uh, Gilmerio's question about how does alcohol affect ketones production? I assume, Gilmerio, what you mean is if someone's going out drinking, will it affect their the ketones in their body? If you can confirm if that's what you mean, then we can try and discuss it. I also see Khushbu's question, and she says ki, we check ketones only on sick day for my daughter, and not when her sugars and only and not when the sugar is above 250. Are we doing it right? I'm sorry. You must check ketones when the
या
sugar is over 250. I actually misread it and replied to you accordingly. But you need to check 250 के ऊपर अगर आपकी sugars गई, आपको ketones check करने हैं. Um, and another thing which Ashlesha and me were talking about just before we went live was that is there a need to test your ketones when you are sick and your sugar is not over 200 or 250? And I think that's up to you. Uh, Ashlesha, Ashlesha does check her ketones. She was telling
या
me I don't. But so that's end of the day, that's your decision. But when you're over 250, you must absolutely check, because then what are we trying to avoid here? We are trying to avoid DKA, which is diabetes ketoacidosis, and that can become a medical emergency. That's not, something that's not a situation we want to land up in. Which is why 250 के ऊपर अगर sugar जाती है, you must 100% check your ketones. If you don't have it at home, order it from a chemist. There's a lot of options these days, but make sure that you always have ketone strips at home. And a quick reminder that ketone strips also tend to expire, I think, every 6 months, if
हम्म
I'm not wrong.
या
So keep an eye on the expiry of your ketone strips as well.
यस, ओनली प्रॉब्लम इज उनका शेल्फ लाइफ इज बहुत कम है। जितने भी लाइक आई हैव सीन ब्रांड्स दैट एग्जिस्ट हु सेल लाइक कीटोन यूरिन टेस्ट स्ट्रिप्स, उनका शेल्फ लाइफ बहुत कम है। सो हाँ, sometimes like you won't even use the whole 50 strips, but I think it's better to have one for yourself. जैसे you know we keep a hypo kit, our insulin stock up and everything, वैसे similarly this would be a really good investment for every diabetic or caregiver out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I've heard of people even buying ketone strips and then distributing among friends and things like that long back many years ago.
हाँ
Uh, Now that may or may not be a practical option or something, but
हम्म
it's definitely, if that's something that interests you, you can do it. I see another question. Even with normal blood sugars, ketones develop if my daughter has an infection.
हम्म
All right. So what do you do in that case? If your daughter has normal sugars and ketones, and if she's not well, what is the line of action uh, that you take? And also, Ashlesha, for you, since you do test when
Yeah.
you're
So
unwell.
yeah, so what I do is I like maintain my book. Okay, I maintain what I'm eating, what time I'm taking my insulin. I check my sugars regularly, like every 2 hours or 3 hours, even if I'm in the office or ghar pe, you know, doesn't matter. So I keep a watch on all of these things. You know, how many times do I have to go to the bathroom? मेरे ketones मैंने कितने बार check किए हैं? You know, I check it every 4 hours if I'm sick. You know, if I'm having the sick days, because sometimes what I've observed is sometimes you know medicines के वजह से भी you do pass out a lot of protein, glucose, or ketones in your urine. So sometimes it can be like a एक ऐसे false hope या फिर false thing कि नहीं है, false positive भी आते हैं कभी कभी. But yeah, for me is maintaining what I'm eating, my insulin dosage, my sugar levels, and my ketones ka levels. This helps me somewhere mentally, also makes me feel secure कि I'm taking care of not landing myself into DKA. मैं मेरी sugars ये कर रही हूँ, even if I'm not feeling well, so that also helps in the recovery somewhere.
Correct. Uh, Gilmerio says, any brands that you guys have used and recommended? I have Bayer. I'll put it into the chat as well. Um, It's called Bayer Urine Ketone Testing Strips. That's the one that I have used. Ashlesha, anything different?
I don't remember the name exactly. What I know is it resembles like a white and yellow color का box,
Yeah,
and उसपे they've just written urine keto like sorry urine analysis strips. I
yeah,
can
yeah,
share a photo on the WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups
yeah, sure.
later on. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I've used Bayer, and I think it's pretty easily available. It's available on Amazon,
Mhm.
also at local chemist shops, online
Yeah.
pharmacies, um, and other places. All right. Are we missing any questions in the chat? Another one by Gilmerio, and he says, since the liver is used to process alcohol, but if it's also producing ketones, while this is happening, is there something we need to be careful or wary about? So, Gilmerio, I'm just sharing my opinion. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but or a healthcare professional, but so here's my logic with regards to ketones and drinking alcohol, consuming alcohol. I think I would worry. I would keep it really simple. I would worry about ketones only with respect to DKA, to respect with respect to diabetes ketoacidosis, which occurs. When does that occur? It occurs when your blood sugars are over 250. So that is something that we can measure at home with our glucometer or our CGM. The minute it goes over 200 or 250, I would be on top of things. I would check my ketones. If my blood sugars are normal and I'm, drinking socially or whatever, I don't think there's anything to really worry about. And if you feel that there's a specific situation or a specific concern that may not have come up in this conversation now, please, do share it in the comment section as well. But basically, I don't think that it's an issue unless you're high. Back to you, Ashlesha.
Yeah, even like whenever I drink, I make sure just to maintain my sugar levels. वो नहीं बढ़ने चाहिए. अगर वो बढ़ गए तो हाँ, there's a possibility कि ketones भी बढ़ सकते हैं then आगे and then ultimately decay. But I've never faced any situation. हाँ, sugars definitely increase होते हैं, but I've never had like a high ketones का result or anything after drinking.
Yeah. So I'm also, in the chat you'll also see that DKA. A lot of people think that मुझे ketones दिख गए, अगर मेरे ketones positive है तो मुझे DKA है. That's not true.
Mhm.
DKA is a complex and emergency medical situation, and there are multiple factors that impact, uh, the outcome of whether you actually have DKA or not. तो अगर आपको डीके है या नहीं है, बेसिकली ये सिर्फ हॉस्पिटल में या डॉक्टर के थ्रू पता चल सकता है. कुछ लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि मुझे कीटोन्स है, अगर मेरे
Mhm.
कीटोन्स पॉजिटिव आ गए, इवन इफ स्मॉल कीटोन्स है या कम कीटोन्स है, तो मुझे पैनिक करना चाहिए या मैं अभी डीके में हूँ. बट देयर इज नो
Mhm.
वे ऑफ सेइंग इफ यू आर इन डीके और नॉट, बिकॉज देयर आर डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ टेस्ट. यू विल फाइंड those written in the chat box. So one is you need to have your blood sugars very high, 250 plus. Then you need to have your bicarbonate level less than 18 and your pH less than 7.3. If all of these conditions are met, there is a battery of tests that are run on you, and then you can come to the conclusion that this person has DK or not. So, in any situation, even if it is such kind of a stressful situation, do not panic. Um, at your end, what you can do and what you can control is your blood sugar. So if your blood sugar is high, obviously take insulin, drink a lot of water, have some salty liquids. I think these are things that would help. Also, don't eat when your sugar is high. A lot of people,
Mhm.
what they do is they feel like थोड़ा सा खा लेते हैं, या
Mhm.
300 है, 400 है. आप अगर उस टाइम पे कुछ भी खाओगे, इवन इफ इट इज समथिंग दैट्स वेरी लो कार्ब, इट इज स्टिल गोइंग टू इंक्रीज योर ब्लड शुगर, राइट? सो डू नॉट ईट अंटिल योर शुगर्स आर बैक इन रेंज. जब तक आपकी शुगर वापस नॉर्मल लेवल तक ना आए, आपको खाना नहीं चाहिए उस टाइम. So I hope that also answers your question, Khushbu. If we see high ketones, what action should we take? if you see high ketones and high blood sugar, this is what you should do. What we just
Mhm.
spoke: take insulin, drink water, go to the washroom, do not eat. Sometimes your insulin is spoiled and you don't know it. You cannot physically,
Mhm.
आपको दिखाई नहीं देता है कि ये इंसुलिन खराब है, लेकिन कभी आपने गर्मी में बाहर रख दिया या कुछ और रीजन के वजह से आपका इंसुलिन इफेक्टिव नहीं होता है, and then you see your blood sugars going up without an explanation. So another option is to change out your insulin. Vial change कर दो, cartridge change कर दो, eliminate one by one the chances or the reasons why your sugar is going high. Anything you want to add, Ashlesha?
या आई थिंक अगर हाई कीटोन्स कंसिस्टेंटली आ रहे हैं तो मे बी यू नीड टू रश टू हॉस्पिटल, बट अगर कंसिस्टेंट नहीं है, सिर्फ 1 घंटे पहले आपने चेक किया था तब हाई था, एंड देन यू लाइक रीचेकिंग इट अगेन इन 2 आवर्स और आफ्टर अनदर आवर, एंड फिर ड्रॉप हो रहे हैं, डिक्रीज हो रहे हैं बोथ हाई कीटोन्स एंड योर हाई ब्लड शुगर लेवल्स, तो need not worry. I think you will be safe. You'll just have to keep a check and carry out all the measures that Nupur just suggested. But अगर consistently फिर भी high है, despite of doing everything, so you need to rush yourself or the person who's going through it to a hospital or nearby emergency room.
Yeah. Another question I would like to ask the audience, and also like Ashlesha and I can also share. I realize we are slightly off track from our original plan, but Ashlesha, don't worry, I'll come back on track soon. But I really wanted to ask this: has whoever has been in DKA, apart from diagnosis, if you guys can share. So the reason I'm asked is obviously because of the ketones, and that's our topic today. Uh, what was your experience, and anything you want to share with the rest of the people that are watching this and that are tuned in, that will help them. So something that came to my mind is, many years after my diagnosis, I once had DKA. Okay, Snehal says, is there a frequency on how often we should check ketones? Yes, great question. Definitely check when your blood sugars are over 250. So that's, anytime you see a number 250 and above, straight head to the ketone strip section and go and check yourself. So I had DK this one time. I think I was in the 12th standard, and I was unwell, and it had nothing to do with diabetes. I had food poisoning, or I'd eaten out or something like that. Okay, and I forgot to take my insulin. ओके एंड मैं इंसुलिन लगाना भूल गई, मुझे लगा मैं रेस्ट कर लेती हूँ पहले और फिर लगा लूंगी, और ये चक्कर में मैं इंसुलिन लेने भूल गई थी. एंड देन ऑब्वियसली व्हेन समथिंग गोज रॉन्ग, एवरीथिंग गोज रॉन्ग टुगेदर. तो ना तो मैंने इंसुलिन लगाया, ना तो मैंने शुगर चेक की. आई वाज जस्ट यू नो रेस्टिंग, आई वाज नॉट फीलिंग वेल. तो मुझे बेसिकली पता नहीं था कि मेरी शुगर हाई जा रही है, राइट? तो क्लियरली मल्टीपल मिस्टेक्स. ना तो मैंने शुगर चेक किया जो मुझे करना चाहिए था, ना तो मैंने इंसुलिन लगाया. My blood sugar went high, it kept going high, and at some point, long story short, apart from all of these dehydration, nausea, I went through all of this. At some point later, I could not breathe. And when I couldn't breathe, I panicked, right? Because I don't have any sort of breathing issues or any bronchial issues at all. The only thing I have is type 1 diabetes, and not being able to breathe was really making me panic. So then I reached out to my family and I said, I'm having trouble breathing. Please do something. And then they rushed me to the hospital, and we realized that I actually had DKA. So sometimes it happens, you know everything, you know what to do, but still you make a mistake, or you make a series of mistakes, and you may land up in DK. So not only should I have checked my blood sugar, I should have also checked my ketones. I didn't do that. I should have taken insulin. अगर मैं ये सब कर लेती तो मैं हॉस्पिटलाइज नहीं होती. बट बिकॉज मैंने ये सारी चीज़ें नहीं की, मेरी शुगर काफ़ी हाई चली गई थी. मुझे नॉलेज नहीं था उस टाइम पे कितनी थी मेरी शुगर. ऐसा इमरजेंसी सिचुएशन आ गया, मैं सांस नहीं ले पा रही थी, एंड आई हैड टू बी टेकन टू द हॉस्पिटल. सो दिस इज कंप्लीटली अवॉइडेबल, एंड आई एम शेयरिंग दिस सो दैट एनी वन हु इज लिसनिंग, अगर आप सुन रहे हैं तो आप ये गलती ना करें जो मैंने की, या हम में से ऑडियंस में से भी अगर किसी ना किसी ने ये एक्सपीरियंस कभी किया होगा.
Mm.
I can see Gurpreet's comment in the comment box, and she says that the same thing happened to me, and that's the only time I got hospitalized for T1D. Absolutely same, Gurpreet. I've never been hospitalized, related to my T1D, and that was the only one time, because of my own mistake that I ended up in hospital. Gilmario says. He says oxygen. That's what I was introduced to when I was diagnosed with DKA. Oh my God. Sounds scary.
Scary, I know.
I had this experience of having breathing trouble.
No, for me, it was always been like nausea and like severe stomach aches. I remember one time I was in school and I woke up and I was getting ready and I just started vomiting. And even after taking like a pandy, checking my sugars, nothing was working. My sugar levels were also shooting up. Like I remember constantly, my mom was checking it every half an hour.
Yeah.
Like we were, we were like, कि ठीक है इंसुलिन लेते हैं, let's see. अगर 1-2 घंटे बाद भी नहीं नीचे आ रहा है तो ऑफ कोर्स विल रश टू एन इमरजेंसी रूम बिकॉज पहले भी हुआ था एंड आई वाज
Correct.
लाइक कम हो रहा है शुगर तो नो नीड टू वरी एंड आई हैड रिकवर्ड एज वेल बट देन बाद में माय वॉमिटिंग वाज नॉट स्टॉपिंग एंड माय शुगर लेवल्स वर आल्सो नॉट कमिंग डाउन डिस्पाइट ऑफ मी टेकिंग लाइक माय एट्रापिड एंड माय लैंटस एज वेल मैंने हाफ हाफ डोज ले लिया था जस्ट टू बी मतलब बिकॉज आई वाज ओनली हैविंग आई थिंक आई रिमेम्बर हैविंग ओनली लाइक नींबू का पानी बिकॉज
Yeah.
बाकी कुछ नहीं जा रहा था आई वाज जस्ट वॉमिटिंग एवरीथिंग out again. And I had to be, of course, hospitalized. DKA Nikla, and then they had to give me like everything again. They had to keep me in the ICU. So definitely, मेरे लिए ये दो like signs have always been like really strong. So yeah.
Yeah.
And the stomach ache is crazy. Like I'm not talking about it. Literally, it felt like someone was twisting my stomach and trying to get it out of my body or something.
Oh my
इतना
God.
like वो ज़्यादा pain हो रहा था, and the vomiting were not stopping. Like I just couldn't breathe because of it. That was
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. Gilmario says vomiting is also a symptom of DKA, right? Yes, Gilmario.
Yeah, yes.
I think what makes it really complicated for all of us is that I can see even Gurpreet said that she had the same experience, food poisoning, and then eventually landed up in DKA. Sometimes the reason for vomiting can be, it could be different, right? It could be that मुझे
Yeah.
food poisoning है इसलिए मुझे vomiting हो रहा है.
हाँ.
But these are all connected. DK, one of the triggers for it is also dehydration. अगर आप पानी
Hmm.
कम पी रहे हैं, completely पानी आपका बंद हो गया है, that's another triggering factor. You can delay the onset of DK if you have enough water. That's why we see कि जब ketones आपके टेस्ट में आते
Hmm.
हैं, इंसुलिन लगाओ, पानी पियो और वॉशरूम जाओ,
Yeah.
राइट?
Yeah. Try to flush it out.
फ्लश इट आउट, एग्जैक्टली. Gurpreet का एक क्वेश्चन है, इज सिवियर पेन इन द फुट एंकल्स अ सिम्टम ऑफ डीकेए, एंड दैट्स व्हाट आई हैड रादर देन ब्रीदिंग इश्यूज. एंकल पेन
Hmm.
का मुझे नहीं एक्सपीरियंस है गुरप्रीत, बट
Yeah.
एनीवन इन द यू नो any one of our viewers has had this experience, please do share it, and do let us know, because it's a pretty complicated issue, and there could
Hmm.
be very many symptoms. Snehal is saying that I had DK just once, 5 years after my diagnosis. I was sick, I had high sugars, I was puking, I couldn't
Hmm.
keep anything in my tummy, and so I skipped insulin, and that further led to the increase in the sugars. And often we forget that the body is insulin resistant when sick, and even if you don't eat, your sugars are going to go high. Absolutely right. I think we have all, like all of us here who've had diabetes for fairly long number of years, have
Yeah.
all gone through the exact same experience. I also didn't take insulin because I felt like I am not eating, and I
Hmm.
shouldn't. अगर मैं खा नहीं रही हूँ तो अगर मैंने इंसुलिन लगा लिया, I'll go hypo. बट इफ आई वुड हैव जस्ट चेक्ड माई शुगर, आई वुड हैव नोन कि हाइपो का डर नहीं होना चाहिए, मुझे हाइपर का होना
Hmm.
चाहिए, राइट? सो इट ऑल कम्स डाउन टू चेकिंग योर शुगर. जब तक आप शुगर चेक नहीं करेंगे, आपको पता नहीं लगेगा कि आप किस तरफ जा रहे हो. डायबिटीज आई थिंक एक ऐसी चीज है जो इस तरफ आपके हाइपो है, लो शुगर है, और इस तरफ हाई शुगर
Hmm.
है, और आपको रहना है बिल्कुल बीच में. So हम सबको तो that is a challenge, and without checking our sugar we will not know. I think it makes it a lot easier. A lot of us are wearing the sensors, राइट. सो अगर आप सेंसर इस्तेमाल करते हैं, ज़रूर अपना शुगर बहुत ऑफन चेक करें. कंपेयर टू ग्लूकोमीटर, यू कैन चेक इट अ लॉट मोर इजीली. बट इवन इफ यू आर नॉट ऑन द सेंसर, I mean, I would say check at least 5 to 6 times a day, or even more often if you're feeling unwell. Over to you, Ashlesha.
Yeah, just वही है. Should we take another next question?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think हमने almost सारा discuss कर लिया है. But what are the remedies to reduce ketones and can it be reduced? Like, can you just highlight it again?
Yeah, so I'll share a little bit, and then feel free to add, Shlesha.
Hmm.
So I think the first thing and the most important thing is to take insulin. So we are talking right now to people that are insulin dependent diabetics. If you're not on insulin and if you still suspect DK, definitely reach out to your healthcare professional, because I saw on the group the other day somebody had posted a question about, अगर मेरी शुगर 400 है और मैं इंसुलिन नहीं लगाता हूँ, because I'm
Hmm.
type 2 diabetic, what am I supposed to do? How do I bring it down? uh, Interesting question. I'm on
Yeah.
insulin, so I'm waiting for others that are on oral medication to share their experiences. But I think first thing, take insulin, drink water, go to the washroom, and do this on loop till your sugars come down, and only once they
Hmm.
come down should you eat if you want to eat.
Yeah. Exactly. I'd like to highlight the same thing. It's okay to give your tummy a rest if you're not feeling okay. And
Correct.
another thing is कि ऐसे मत समझना कि I'm not eating तो I shouldn't take insulin, हाइपो में चली जाऊंगी. ऐसे नहीं है. उल्टा, खाओ या नहीं खाओ, शुगर तो बढ़ता ही रहेगा. तो just take a minimal dose of what you usually do. That can literally make a huge difference in, maintaining your sugar levels on those sick days.
Absolutely. And I see Snehal also reiterating the same thing. Take insulin, keep yourself
Yes.
hydrated, very important.
Hmm.
Monitor your sugars regularly, because if
Hmm.
you don't monitor, you are not going to know. मतलब आपको एक सीक्रेट मैसेज आपके ब्रेन में आ जाएगा कि आपका शुगर इतना है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. बहुत से लोग बोलते हैं कि हमें पता लग जाता है कि हम लोग हाई है
Hmm.
या लो है. ठीक है, पता लगता है, वेरी गुड. ओके, बट यू कैनॉट रिलाई ऑन योर बॉडी सिम्टम्स, बिकॉज फॉर अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हाइपो और हाइपर के सिम्टम्स भी कभी कभी कंफ्यूजिंग हो जाते हैं.
Hmm.
अगर किसी को एक पर्टिकुलर सिम्टम लगे, दे कुड बी हाइपो और दे कुड बी हाइपर. सो rely on your glucometer, don't be afraid, check your sugar, and once you know what it is, you can take some action after that.
या एग्जैक्टली. आई मीन इंट्यूशन होता है, बहुत लोगों का राइट भी होता है, बट जैसे एग्जैक्ट फिगर्स आपको ग्लूकोमीटर बता सकता है, वैसे आपका इंट्यूशन नहीं बता सकता. डेफिनेटली. सो हाँ.
Correct. And I see Gilmerio's message as well. I was also misdiagnosed with food poisoning.
Ooh.
So that's a tough situation. Gurpreet says the biggest advantage of insulin pump is that basal supports continuous insulin need of the body, and you can take basal if sugar is going high. Gurpreet, there's one thing that I just remembered when I saw your message, and thanks for sharing that about the pump. One of the drawbacks of the pump is that people people easily land up in DKA. So while the pump is a tool of convenience and it is, great, you can take a bolus on the fly, you can do whatever. But one of the things is that if your infusion set, or if your patch which is on your body, on your tummy, if it gets kinked, if the needle inside gets bent, sharing this for everyone, even those who are not on pumps, at that point the insulin is not going in your body, right? So what happens to those of us who are taking injected basal? So if I'm taking glargine or lantus, मैंने अगर इंजेक्ट कर लिया लैंटिस, इंजेक्ट कर लिया, मेरे बॉडी के अंदर है अब वो, नेक्स्ट एटलीस्ट 18 to 24 आवर्स वो मेरे बॉडी के अंदर रहेगा. बट
Hmm.
पंप में ये ड्रॉबैक है कि आपके बॉडी में जो वो ड्रॉप बाय ड्रॉप बेसिल जाता है, वो अगर जाना बंद हो गया और कंप्लीटली बॉडी में कुछ इंसुलिन नहीं जा रहा है, और अगर आपकी शुगर्स हाई हैं, आप खाना खा रहे हो, आपको पता नहीं है कि बॉडी में इंसुलिन नहीं जा रहा है, यू कैन वेरी क्विकली लैंड इन डीके। सो दैट्स समथिंग टू वॉच आउट फॉर। अगर आप पंप यूज करते हैं, ऑडियंस में से अगर आप कोई भी है जो पंप यूज करते हैं, प्लीज मेक श्योर कि आप शुगर ज्यादा चेक कर रहे हैं, कम नहीं। So this happened to me one time. I was outside with friends, and we were meeting for lunch or dinner or something, and I could feel, I was feeling sick. Like I could tell my blood sugars were high,
Hmm.
and I checked, and it was very very high. It was 300, 400 something. And that's when I realized that it's probably my pump that's not working.
Hmm.
So then I had to abandon my plan of eating out. I had to go back home and change my patch and carry my insulin syringe and everything. So always, pump users, I know you guys already do this, but this is a reminder for you to always carry your backup. If nothing else, carry your pen or your syringe
Hmm.
with you. And I see Gilmario's message. He says pump users need to be careful of DKA because cannula kinks, and then the sensor can malfunction, and then you can very quickly land in DK. So that's that. Always check on a glucometer. Hi Monica, how are you? All right, Ashlesha, what are we missing? Please help.
Yes. So the next question is, what is nutritional ketosis and is it different from DKA?
Yes, you want to start? I can jump in.
या सो जैसे हमने हमने स्टार्टिंग से बताया है ऑफ द सेमिनार कि नेचुरली भी बॉडी में कीटोन्स बनते हैं, ठीक है। ऐसे नहीं है कि सिर्फ जिनको डायबिटीज है, बी टाइप 1 टाइप 2, सिर्फ उनकी बॉडी में कीटोन्स बनते हैं, ऐसे नहीं होता है। जो नॉन डायबिटिक्स है उनके बॉडी में भी कीटोन्स बनते हैं एंड बन सकते हैं। देयर इज अ वेरी गुड पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ इट हैपनिंग एंड इट डज हैपन। डीकेए हम कब बोलते हैं? कॉम्बिनेशन होता है ऑफ टू थिंग्स, ठीक है। अगर आपको डर लग रहा है, ठीक है, यू नीड टू मेक श्योर कि आपके कीटोन्स भी पॉजिटिव है एंड आपके शुगर्स भी हाई है। अगर इन दो चीजों का कॉम्बिनेशन आपको कंसिस्टेंटली दिखे आपकी केस में, तो आप बोल सकते हो कि वो डीके है या फिर आप डीकेए में जाने वाले हो। दिस इज द डिफरेंस, ठीक है। कीटोन्स नॉर्मल लोगों के, आई मीन सॉरी, नॉन डायबिटिक्स के बॉडी में भी बनते हैं। सो दिस इज द डिफरेंस फॉर मी, आई थिंक। वुड यू लाइक टू ऐड एनीथिंग टू इट, नुपुर?
Yes, yes. I think Ashlesha, thanks. You've very clearly mentioned कि कीटोन्स सबके बॉडी में बनते हैं, चाहे आपको डायबिटीज हो या ना हो। क्योंकि मेरे डायग्नोसिस के कई सालों तक मुझे
हम्म।
ऐसा लगता था कि कीटोन्स कोई बुरा शब्द है या कोई बुरी चीज है, और
हम्म।
कीटोन्स
हम्म।
वर्ड अगर आ गया तो भागो, कुछ करो। अ, वैसा वाला रिएक्शन होता था मेरा। But now, when we read and we understand, ketones are not to be feared, right? Especially for those of us that are doing low carb. अगर आप लो कार्ब या कीटोजेनिक डाइट कर रहे हैं, तो बहुत लाइकली है कि आपके बॉडी में कीटोन्स होंगे। लेकिन नथिंग टू वरी अगर आपकी शुगर्स नॉर्मल है। So this is something I was again discussing with Ashlesha before the workshop. Um, I checked my blood ketones on a blood ketone meter. I borrowed it from someone one time, as an experiment to see what it shows, how it works. And I typically do intermittent fasting most days. I eat dinner and then the next day मैं lunch time पे खाना खाती हूँ. So when I checked my ketones before my meal, before the lunch time that I was going to eat around 12:01, I think it was around 0.8 or 1. And at what point should you panic, right? Well, ideally you should not panic at all. But if at all, you want to be concerned or you want to take some action, you need to have that fear or concern after your sugar crosses 250 and you have ketones. Then do what we discussed. But up until that point, I think once your fat adapted, meaning that our bodies use carbohydrate or glucose as a source of energy. हम जब रोटी खाते हैं या पराठे खाते हैं या चावल खाते हैं, तो हमारी बॉडी उस चीज को, जो कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स है ये खानों में, वो बेसिकली दैट्स व्हाट पावर्स आवर बॉडी, द ग्लूकोज पावर्स आवर बॉडी. बट जो लोग लो कार्ब करते हैं या जो लोग कीटो डाइट करते हैं, उन लोगों की बॉडी में कार्ब्स नहीं है. तो फिर क्या चीज है जो उनकी बॉडी को चला रहा है, उनके बॉडी का फ्यूल क्या है? जैसे गाड़ी में आप डाल सकते हो पेट्रोल, आप डाल सकते हो डीजल, राइट? सेम वे योर बॉडी नीड्स अ सोर्स ऑफ फ्यूल. So either carbs are a source of fuel for your body, or fats are a source of fuel for your body. So for me, I'm low carb. My body is now fat adapted, meaning that my body ka fuel jo hai, it is different from those that are eating carbs. So again, me having ketones in my urine or in my blood is not something for me to panic. Uh, the only time I need to take action is when my blood sugar is high. Just taking a quick look at the comment box,
Hmm.
if there's anything. Monica says, "What about the Omnipod pump?" Monica, what is your question about the pump? Are you asking कि जो लोग Omnipod यूज करते हैं क्या उनका पंप मतलब किंक हो सकता है या फेल हो सकता है? आई थिंक कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी हो, चाहे वो सेंसर हो, पंप हो, इंसुलिन पेन हो, कुछ भी हो, उसके फेल होने के चांसेस हैं, राइट? पंप के केस में हम लोगों ने डिस्कस करा कि पंप का कैनुला जो है, नीडल को कैनुला बोलते हैं, जो बॉडी में रहता है, वो किंक हो सकता है. किंक मीन्स वो अगर बेंड हो गया तो बॉडी में इंसुलिन जाना बंद हो जाएगा. सेम विथ ओमनीपॉड, क्योंकि ओमनीपॉड ऑल्सो वर्क्स ऑन द सेम कंसेप्ट कि आपके बॉडी के अंदर एक छोटी सी नीडल इंजेक्टेड है, और अगर वो बेंड हो गई तो आपकी बॉडी में इंसुलिन नहीं जाएगा. नहीं जाएगा, आप शुगर नहीं चेक करोगे, डीके होने के चांसेस हैं. जरूरी नहीं है कि डीके होगा, बट एंड द वे अराउंड इट, द सोल्यूशन टू दैट इज दैट यू नीड टू चेक योर ब्लड शुगर. इफ यू चेक, आप प्रॉब्लम होने से पहले ही उसको पकड़ सकते हैं.
Yes.
स्नेहल इज सेइंग बैकअप का बैकअप इज माय डायबिटीज का लाइफ लेसन. आई एग्री विथ यू स्नेहल सो मच.
Exactly.
एंड आई थिंक हम डायबिटिक्स का जो बैग होता है वो सबसे बड़ा होता है. ग्रुप में अगर कोई T1 या कोई T2 है, you can tell from a mile, right? Because that person is carrying the biggest bag with सब चीजों का बैकअप. Gurpreet is saying, is DK caused by even a one-time high sugar and like a pump kinking, or is it after a certain amount of continuous high sugar? Uh, Yeah, so I think that you're right. If you quickly catch, if my sugar goes up to 300 or 400 or whatever, and
Hmm.
if I quickly catch it, I take my correction dose, I manage to bring it down, I'm out of danger. But you're absolutely right. If it's continuously high,
Hmm.
and that tends to happen when we don't check. We feel like मैं बीमार हूँ, मैं क्यों चेक करूँ, या whatever. You might be lazy, आपके strips खत्म हो गए, आपके पास मतलब facility nahi hai, I don't know, whatever it is. But if you're not checking and taking insulin, then definitely it could cause DK. And I see Snehal also saying the same thing. High sugars over a certain duration, and if you're sick, then your body has an infection to fight as well, and you're also insulin resistant. With the pump malfunctioning, if you don't realize, a lot of time has already passed. That's right. Hi, Rohan. Um, Rohan says carbohydrates is one carbon molecule plus one water. Wow, Rohan, you've been doing some chemistry there. And fat times that, also made of carbon molecules. So the body can switch to fat as fuel easily. And okay, great, perfect. That sounds like it makes a lot of sense. Gilmerio says, are ketones and creatinine related for a low carb diet?
Hmm.
I don't know, Gilmerio. Honestly, we can check and find out and continue this discussion on the group as well. But I think when we do our blood work, uh, creatinine is one of the many things that we check when we do our 6 monthly or our annual tests.
Checkup. Hmm.
Yeah. Samihan says, "Hi, Nupur and Ashlesha. Joined a little late. Will ketone levels coming down automatically Will they come down automatically as and when the sugar levels are brought down? Ashlesha, you want to take that?
Yeah, I don't think it would naturally. If you, the one thing that you can ensure is it's decreasing is if you try to flush it out. इसीलिए we are reiterating the point कि पानी पीते रहिए. So through urine वो body के बाहर जाता रहेगा. जितना वो body के बाहर जाएगा, उतना it would be good for you and for your recovery overall.
Correct. So last call for questions. We're almost at time. It's about 6 o'clock. We can, quickly check if you guys have any questions, and if you do, please share them in the comment box. Last question we can take. We're also going to share a few links and blogs. Very good point about flushing out ketones. Yes, that's a great reminder. Um, So remember, again, like Ashlesha said, nutritional ketosis is different from ketoacidosis. Simply, the word ketones is not, you need not panic. Is 7.2 HbA1c good? Ashlesha, over to you.
Yeah, I think it's good, but you can do great than that and try to bring it like below 7.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The goal is to have an A1C or blood sugars as close to non-diabetic people as possible, because non-diabetics का जो risk है complications होने का, हमें वही risk चाहिए. अगर जितना ज्यादा हमारा शुगर और A1C बढ़ेगा, उतना हमारा रिस्क भी बढ़ते जाएगा. Second blog that we've shared in the comment box is about DKA, so feel free to read that. um, all right, so we've had a lot of fun. Ashlesha, thank you so much for putting in all that work, thinking about the workshop, the topic, all of these points that you've compiled. As usual, really, really nice chatting with you. And also thanks to our audience. And Ashlesha, over to you for wrapping it up.
Yes. So thank you for giving me this platform to talk about ketones that, I have been like very, very scared about for quite a long time. And I hope कि सबके questions हमने answer किए हैं. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि कुछ questions है जो बाकी है, आप हमारे Facebook page पे definitely पूछ सकते हो. हम या फिर बाकी members आपको definitely वहाँ पे answers देंगे. And yeah, do like make sure to check out all of our social media platforms. कहीं पे भी आपको help चाहिए, questions हो, you can just ask it away without any, being scared or being shameful about something. We'll definitely try to answer it and help you guys. And thank
Yes.
you for having me.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely Sunday evening, Ashlesha, and all of our
Yes.
viewers. And see you guys soon next Sunday. Bye.
Bye bye.